there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
Number 24 is Content Farms in Macedonia.
Бидејќи ако се направи грешка, таа ќе биде кобна. Нема враќање назад.
So Europe need to remain more sexy lady in the world. Ajde, majkата!
Господа ја чува Македонија и низините граѓани.
Yes, so you watched the Turkey-USA game and the critical question, my friend. Who are you voting? Who are you rooting for?
I was rooting for Turkey as the underdog and cultural neighbor and historical friend enemy. Gentle occupier, as they said in the podcast.
Gentle
recently.
occupier. Yeah. They only cut off Jerry's grandfather's ear and raped your women. So
well, bygones be bygones. I will be rooting for Bosnia next. You're playing Bosnia, right?
I have no idea.
In the next, I think so.
I don't know. I don't follow this stuff like you Europeans.
Yeah, well, I mean, for cultural proximity, we are all rooting for all the Balkaners. So Croatia, Bosnia, even though they hate each other and sometimes we hate them.
Even Bulgaria or Greece?
I would definitely root for Bulgaria, not so much for Greece, and not so much for Albania, I think.
You people are weird. You people look at us Americans and say we're weird. No, you're weird. I mean, why do you want to root for the people that are holding you back and that are calling you North Macedonians and that are demanding that you change your constitution? And I don't get it.
It's difficult to explain, but I guess it's like old. This is just the latest episode in a very long story in which, we were mostly on the same side. The Turkish stuff is weird. I don't know how they bought so much purchase with us. Maybe because, the treatment of our Orthodox brothers, especially the Greeks, after the Turkish enslavement was ended, was actually so awful. So that we're kind of reminiscing of the good old days of the Turkish.
It's Stockholm syndrome long before there was Stockholm syndrome. So you have come to identify with your captors and you embrace them for whatever reason. I don't know, but hey, that's on you guys. You guys want Turkey, you can have Turkey. You run into the warm and loving embrace of the big sultan over there. So but thousands, nay, tens of thousands of your fellow Europeans from all over the old continent are coming to America and discovering things like Buc-ee's and Waffle House and air conditioning and big gulps from 7-Eleven and the enormity of everything this great nation in our 250th year have to offer. Air conditioning running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it never stops. So
we have air conditioning here. Okay, granted, we don't use it as much, but we do. Like I have, like a bunch of those. Do you count the split system as having air conditioning?
Mini split. Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, it gets the job done. It's not like I remember once in a new car which one of our diplomats was renting in DC, and the AC was so strong. I come out of the car and my glass is fogged up with the DC humidity. It never happened to me before. Like, that's crazy. So we can't achieve such levels of air conditioning, but we get the job done. Like I was actually cold at home yesterday.
Yes, and well, it's kind of weird because Macedonians are afraid of promaya, and the idea of moving air, any moving air, whether it's mostly cold, but any moving air, especially if you're driving in a car with two windows down, going at 80, 90 kilometers an hour, that's moving air. So, but I will give you that. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, I remember when I first came to Macedonia 30 years ago, there weren't a lot of air conditioner units, the mini splits. But who was the owner of Fershbed?
Sterionakov.
I think he was one of the first so-called oligarchs that started bringing in air conditioners by the truckload, and became quite wealthy on those.
There was Fonko. Fonko was the famous one.
Fonko, right? I remember.
Our prime minister works for, famously.
Okay.
As an
yes,
installer,
Fonko, yes.
he worked as an installer.
Oh, he literally was an installer. That's funny.
Yeah.
But you, my Macedonian friends, are much better on using air conditioning than, say, the French, etc., who are, and especially the English, who are the Stasi apparently are all over England and France right now, cracking down on people who dare to turn on their air conditioning. So, but that's on them. Hey, I don't care. We swim in air conditioning. So. By the way, to our listeners, this is the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast, and we will actually talk about something Macedonian here shortly. We were talking about Macedonia, albeit having to do with air conditioning and Turkish occupation for 500 years and the World Cup and everything else. So, well, actually, back on that, do you have a who do you predict is going to win overall, or because I'm not following it, so.
Brazil is looking good. France is always up there, and the Germans kind of embarrassed themselves yesterday. Or actually, it was a very strong Ecuadorian team, so they are no longer. I mean, we did like pretty badly against a strong small team. The Netherlands, Spain are all good. I'm like Brazil or Argentina is usually my go-to, unless Croatia has a chance to win, which they might. They might be, getting somewhere. So I'm usually between Brazil and Argentina, for my with the style of playing and I don't know, overall vibe.
Right. Did you hear? I mean, so and we can touch on this briefly, but obviously Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, resigned, and there will be a new one. So the joke going around, of course, is that there have been 7 prime ministers in 10 years in the UK. It's 30 degrees Celsius outside, and England is winning games in the World Cup. Basically, England is becoming Italy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Giorgia Meloni has been there. I think she's now the longest ruling prime minister in Italy's history as a modern nation-day state. So,
she's not all we
all right. Let's actually
she's keeping it stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although we have a mega
all right,
cycle.
Let's talk about some. Mega cycle on what?
We have a mega cycle next year, electoral mega cycle. She might be out. She's facing some young left-wing challenger, and this is like in Canada and now in England, they're testing if they can just swap the leader and then at an opportune moment, and then buy a lot of credibility for him and have the same party take over against the new leadership, and they might even spring new elections if this guy polls well. In the UK, they're trying something with Meloni, and so it's going to be like a massive electoral cycle starting in November with you guys, and then in spring next year, France, Poland, Italy.
Israel.
It's going to be decisive.
Israel in October.
Yeah, seriously. Okay.
So, yeah
so they may have to go nuclear before that.
They're not going to do that. All right. So, yeah, a lot of elections coming up. None in Macedonia, thankfully. It's
actually, we might join in. Yeah. The smart money is on that we will have elections in spring.
Oh, which would be a year and a few months early, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now this is new. I have not heard this, and I follow Macedonian politics closer than most people, certainly more than most people.
It's not in the English language press, but yeah, it's widely speculated in the Macedonian press, and usually tied up with this new plan for EU enlargement, which might include Macedonia making the concession to Bulgaria, like this first initial requested concession. If we front load a lot of the things we want, basically making it worth our while to make the concession. And then this could be accompanied by early election, before or after we amend the constitution. So basically, to round up the whole process. The idea is that we get EU funding, like proper access to EU funding, and or access to the European labor market, educational, the freedom of movement, and or full access to the European market, like the economical zone of Europe. And then, that makes it like a proper time, like worth our while to make the Bulgarian request, if Bulgaria is obviously blocking access to these benefits for us. We can negotiate them until spring, and then the EU says, okay, you deserve all of this on the merits. We say, fine, but you can't get it until Bulgaria signs off. Okay, then we can make the concession. So,
but Bulgaria is. I mean, President Gordana was in Bulgaria last week, the week before, talking to the current president over there. What's her name? Itova?
Sorry, I had you've broken up a little bit there.
Yeah,
you're asking me about the president, or?
Yeah, the president, Gordana. She was in Bulgaria a week or two ago, meeting with the new current president of Bulgaria, who took over after Rumen Radev stepped down to run for prime minister. And her name is Itova, I believe.
Iliana Yotova.
Yotova, yeah, Iliana, yeah. And Gordana said that she came away thinking that there are going to be more requests to do this, that, and the other before.
For sure.
Okay, so the prime minister Miskoski is willing to go ahead and change the constitution again. You get all these things we just talked about from the EU, and then keep asking for things.
Yeah, but then we won't have to negotiate anymore, because we would get most of what we want. So then it's generally understood under the Franco-German proposal, and then Mickoski said that he made some counter proposals when he met Merz and Macron in Tivat in Montenegro like a few weeks ago. So we're generally understood that we will not get the political rights for the state, like veto power, voting in the European Commission, a commissioner of our own, maybe even members of European Parliament, that we would be like a member, but without the political power that comes with membership. But then there are all the other perks, like infrastructure funding, agricultural funding, rural development, blah, blah, blah. And then access to the market, which means our companies compete evenly with the European companies, and then they get destroyed in the first 6 months, and then they get bought off by greater, larger European companies, but then we get unlimited export power to EU, so which means more jobs, and then we get education and right for our citizens to work, travel in unlimited terms, and this means no more Bulgarian passports, obviously, for the greatly diminishing the interest of Macedonians to get Bulgarian passports. Now these are all the perks. Now, if we can get all of them in exchange for the amending the constitution, we're still not a full member, and Bulgaria can then make new demands, like historical demands. They would say these are not new demands; these are already active demands, like
pre-existing unresolved demands. Yeah.
Yeah, you write that you agree that Goca Delchev was Bulgarian, Yana Sandansky was Bulgarian, la la la. But if we get all the perks of membership, obviously this will remain unresolved, like the Bulgarian requests that we amend our history and God knows what else. And then our request that we are made a full political member of the European Union with full political power. But then this can be, postponed for some other time and some other negotiations. But if
so maybe I've got a misunderstanding, because I'm thinking still that you still have to open and close each chapter of the acquis, correct?
Yeah, but the European Council President Costa said that one of their ideas is that we don't have to have unanimity to open and negotiate the chapters, just to close them. This was like a little detail that leaked out of Tivat.
Well, but even to close them, then Bulgaria can, at the end of each of the 32 or 36 chapters, Bulgaria could say, no, you've got to, what you just talked about. You've got to sign in blood that Goce Delchev was Bulgarian, etc. So
no, that's not. That's going to come later. If we can.
How much later?
After we make the change of the constitution. But if we can lump in like a bunch of these chapters, which are important to us, and another thing, the French and the Germans said we would move faster on making these. Opening and closing these chapters. So if we can get like a bunch of the chapters negotiated quickly, and then, we just have to close them to get the perks, and then we say, okay, fine, we make the constitutional amendments, changes, and then we get the perks. And then we have basically resolved our issue with Bulgaria for the time being. And they can... they can obviously insist that, well, you haven't finished the historical part, and you have to do this to become like a full member of the EU, but obviously nobody else will get full membership, not just us. So, we would just leave it
because of enlargement fatigue and because of all the other problems in the world today. So, okay, so what you're saying, let me just recap then. The Bulgarians will continue making demands of Macedonia, and even after the second coming of Christ and the world has ended, they're going to continue to make these demands while they're in hell and we're in heaven. But even so, Macedonia would have some sort of quasi-membership in the EU, but nobody else would get, and would not have full membership, and nobody else is ever going to get full membership either. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, interesting. Well, I guess we'll watch this space.
They might be in a hurry to do this before Macron wins. Le Pen wins in France. So, there is a Politico article, I think, today. There is definitely a lot of movement, on enlargement. Something is up, something is happening. We're not exactly sure what. But it might work to our benefit and to Bulgaria's benefit, because this dispute is to nobody's benefit. So,
you actually sound more optimistic than, I'm going to use the word optimistic, and I think I've discussed this before with you, and I've certainly written about it, that hope is better than optimism. Well, no, let me change that. You sound more hopeful than you have in the past.
I am, because, unprovoked, the French and the Germans came out and said we're doing this. So, something has obviously been discussed. And like we had this tremendous pressure from the US that we joined NATO, and then that led to the colored revolution and the forced name change, and we were dragged into NATO. These things just happen at some moment. Somebody who is, the decision maker decides, okay, we want to do this. What's the reason? I don't know. Is it Le Pen? Is it fear of Russia? They want to bring in Serbia so they can close off Russian, Chinese, and Turkish influence, which is also mentioned in the Balkans as a problem. Something is up. Yeah. Even Turkey reacted like, why are you putting us in the same category as the Russians and the Chinese? We've been there for centuries. And even, you know, Russian influence, it's also ridiculous to mention it's a problem because, you know, half the Russians are called Dmitry and Anastasia, like classical Balkan names. You know, they received Christianity from us. It's actually our influence over Russia, not
them.
Yeah, cultural.
Right.
It was actually in the past. They liberated much of the Balkans, so to say that, you know, we should have French and German and American influence, but not Russian and Turkish, it's okay, fine, you do you. But it might work to our advantage that somebody in Brussels is sufficiently scared of us being in the wrong category to maybe drag us into the, you know, complete this ridiculously protracted process.
Huh. Okay. Well, interesting. There's a lot of, to use an appropriate word, a lot of Byzantine moves going on there. It seems like. It sounds like. Well, I guess that's kind of exciting in a way.
Yep.
But yeah. So now and then going back to talking about the constitutional changes. So this and right now there's a kind of government reshuffle going on in the government in Macedonia, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we were just talking about, correct? This is just normal. It's been 2 years, and so it's time to shuffle. Yeah.
It is a little bit unusual. It's not written that you have to do it, and we don't know at the moment, even though it's like just a few days before the names are announced. Like, but yeah, we still don't know what happens.
Right. I mean, 2 years into any government, I think you tend to see you know, changes. Certainly here in America, you've got changes going on. I mean, frankly, the big, you know, after, let's say, I think elections are November 3, whatever the first Tuesday of November is. So the day after that, the presidential race for 2028 begins, and you'll see more people starting to leave the Trump administration. I think the big question is, what is Marco Rubio going to do? Because he clearly has presidential ambitions, and he is quite popular. JD, I mean, obviously he's the heir apparent, but he has to want it. And right now he's sitting in the Naval Observatory, which is the vice president's official house, with a pregnant wife. So the question is, does he really want to do that now? He's only 40. He's 42. He's 42. You are older than the Vice President of the United States of America.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Most of my friends are older than the Vice President. I mean, Marco Rubio's 13. I think he's 13 years older than so. And you know, and you have to have experience in the world to be able to do things, I think. And JD, anyway. But my point is that things are going to happen in the Trump administration. People have already left, people are leaving. So I think it's normal in the Macedonian government case that people are, you know, there's a reshuffle going on, which has nothing to do with ethnic stuff or anything else. It's just part of the natural cause.
Yeah, it's definitely not forced. He's definitely not pushed. Mickovsky, he's like dominant in the coalition. SDSM is crashed out. They're trying to, you know, play tough, speak out very aggressively. They have, you know, completely adopted like a propaganda posture, which absolutely does not fit their standing in the public, and, you know, them being wrong on so many issues, especially the issue with Greece and now Bulgaria. I mean, failing to deliver on making concessions, failing to deliver, and now again insisting, okay, we have to make more concessions, and then maybe we'll finally get what we want. You know, unilateral, like first we make the concessions, front load the concessions. So they are trying to sound loud, but the polls, everything in the public shows that Mickovsky is dominant over the opposition. He defeated Dewey so badly that they're not like an issue anymore. So yeah, it's all looking good for him. This is not a forced reconstruction of the government. There definitely are inside issues between different factions in the party, but they have not leaked in the public. We do not have like this is the problematic grouping or faction which is winning or losing. So yeah, we honestly don't know if it's going to be big and substantial one or just like cosmetic change. But yeah, it's a stable political situation, except that we have this looming thing with the EU and Bulgaria, which will have to be resolved sometimes, and we'll see how that goes.
Right. Yeah. And in the meantime, of course, the Bulgarians continue. I mean, we had this most recent incident in front of the Bulgarian embassy last week or the week before, I think, where a vehicle or two vehicles, diplomatic vehicles, were set on fire. And of course, the Bulgarians, they blame all of Macedonia for it, instead of blaming the individuals that set the cars on fire, who were arrested and will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And that's the way a rule of law country works, is that the individual is responsible, who did the crime is responsible and is apprehended and is prosecuted. It's not the people, it's not the government, as the Bulgarian government blames the Macedonian government. It's not just that, it's I wrote about this in my column the other week. What's his name? Jaber Derala? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Jaber Derala. It's
Yeah,
a
the head of-
very French pronunciation on your part.
Thank you.
Jaber.
Jaber Derala. If it's French, then he should surrender. The head of civil, which is uncivil in terms of the way their tactics and things like that. There's the far left NGO. He wrote an article after this incident and with the vehicle saying, analysts consulted by Civil emphasized that the primary responsibility for this escalation lies squarely with the government in Skopje. So they said analysts consulted by Civil. No, what they mean is that internally they decided that their own employees and Derala said, no, it's the government that's responsible. It's not the government that's responsible. It's this constant push on the Bulgarians and the Bulgarian media, intellectuals, historians, what have you, that make these claims about Macedonians are actually Bulgarians. The language is Bulgarian. The history is Bulgarian. The land is Bulgarian. Macedonians are delusional. Macedonians naturally get upset by this, and then then these things happen, and then the Bulgarian government and everybody blames the Macedonian government or the Macedonians as an entirety, as a people. And that's just not the case. The other beef I want to bring up on this subject is that in Derala's article he goes on to call he calls Macedonians North Macedonians, and he knows better than that. I mean, he's read the Prespa Agreement. He has editors. He's a journalist, but he writes North Macedonians. Why? Well, I think I know why.
Yeah.
I think he has an agenda. The Bulgarians do it too. Petrova, I think we talked about this in one of our previous podcasts. The foreign minister deliberately went out of her way to call Macedonians North Macedonians. She knows better, but anyway. This is something I'm going to keep harping on. Sorry.
Yeah, Mitskovsky calls them the Eastern neighbor, so they get upset at that, and they shoot back at him with these comments. But yeah, I mean, there is definitely like negative atmosphere in the public because, for some reason we don't look kindly to being blocked for EU membership, which means, like the prosperity and the perspective of our children here is being, tarnished and reduced, especially after we made a concession to Greece and there was no such Bulgarian issue at the time, and then suddenly we get the veto. So obviously there is a lot of Macedonians angry. There's a lot of Macedonians angry at the negative rhetoric, which, generally has come mostly from nationalists in the Bulgarian government, which were at times appointed even like to high positions in the government. We have not had like a Macedonian official at this level. We have, for example, like a Serbian deputy prime minister who is not outspoken on the Bulgarian issue. He's often mentioned by Bulgarian members of European Parliament as a problem, but he wouldn't comment, especially because he's Serbian. No Macedonian politician at a high level would speak the way, for example, Karakachanov spoke about Macedonia when the dispute was being created and engineered. And then, Mickoski would speak very harshly about SDSM. He would call them traitors. He would call them like a Trojan horse. A lot of terms about... He uses the term like they're the soft underbelly of the Macedonian national identity, the weak spot. But not about the Bulgarians. So he talks about the Macedonians who accept the Bulgarian positions unconditionally. So there is negative feeling. It's not out of the question that Macedonia would be provoked and set fire to these vehicles who were just like parked in front of the embassy at all times. On the other hand, like I remember that we had a situation in 2008, the Bucharest summit, when shortly before that was the Goca Delchev, I think, the death anniversary. And, obviously, we go to the church of Sveti Spas for this. And shortly before Gruevski came to pay homage, some guy came, put a map of Greater Macedonia, like the Macedonia at the time of Goca Delchev, as it was supposed to be, and left. And obviously people leave it there because this is the map of, that Vomera was fighting for. And Gruevski bows. And then by the time we get to Bucharest, like the Greeks they literally had printed out like a leaflet of Gruevski with the picture, and this is like shocking nationalist claims on Greece. So it was like super convenient, the timing, and the Bulgarian members of European Parliament were like super prepared for this in Brussels. So
I remember that incident in 2008. That Dora was the foreign minister of Greece, Dora Pocesna, and I specifically remember that and the leaflets and everything else. And yeah, I know. It's just
and this was all we talked about when we were supposed to talk about the latest European Progress Report, which is a big deal, even though it doesn't carry much, power in the European Council where the decisions are made. But last year we were on the verge of a massive win for Macedonia, which could probably have unlocked the constitutional changes, because it would have been the guarantee we keep asking for. And then Bulgarian members of the European Parliament blocked it from being accepted. And then the moment passed. This year, we again have the Austrian, green, very liberal, very deep statey member of European Parliament, who's our reporter, who keeps trying to make something, to give us something, to give Macedonia something. He made several attempts in the latest report, and all the Bulgarians talked about was, this shocking incident of these two vehicles splashed with fuel and then set on fire. And the timing was pretty interesting, but we can't even it could be like a third party side, not Macedonian or Bulgarian agents, but possibly even a third party who just wants to derail the whole thing. So we can't defend all visible, I'm not sure if the police was warned beforehand to be, prepared.
look out.
But you can't defend like all the sites which are.
Oh no, of course not. My point is that it's because I'm a conservative. I believe that individuals have agency and individuals are responsible for their actions, not collectives. This is what Durala is basically arguing, that collectives are the ones that are superior to individuals, and as conservatives we believe that it's the other way around. It's the individual over the collective. This is a typical far left point. This is why I can't stand the government in the area doing this. So
to me it smells like secret police trickery, which we've seen a lot of that in the Balkans. And Mickoski said we'll especially be checking in on the communications of this guy who did this, who is like a nobody. The only information that came out is that he had like a Putin tattoo on him.
Putin tattoo?
Yeah. But Mitskovsky
dear.
strongly hinted we'll check which secret police agents he was actually talking to. And then we had like a counter incident. Somebody in Bulgaria leaked the security reports for the Prime Minister's wife and younger son, who went to Pamporova ski resort, a mountain resort, to meet some friends there. And basically, what was leaked was the document which says, okay, they're traveling then, after
Here's
that
their
fact.
schedule.
I don't think it was like, it was after it was completed, so it was not like a super security issue, but it had like, they're accompanied by this many people, their names, the weaponry they're carrying, which is like a very chilling, like a serious warning
Right.
to the Prime Minister. And this can come out of, our security services or theirs, because this is exchanged at a confidential level, and it was published in like I think a Bulgarian nationalist Facebook group, which is like pretty ugly, to be mentioning the family of the Prime Minister in this context.
Yes.
So, it meant, the left here, it's meant for the left here to say, oh, look, he's traveling, his wife is traveling to Bulgaria, but okay, fine.
People, even elected politicians get to go on vacation. That's just kind of the way it works. And they don't like it because they're the lefties. They don't like it because they're envious, because they're ungrateful, and because they're bitter. And that's just what the left is like. So
it's not like a super expensive destination. It's like a normal middle class thing Macedonians do or did before the relationship got so sour. Right. I haven't seen numbers of tourism exchange between the two countries, but when I go to Bulgaria, there are no lines at the border ever. I used to wait in lines, not often, but it could happen that you get stuck at the border there. Now all the lines are, of course, on the Greek border, but I don't have data, but I imagine that the souring relations have made the tourism exchange go down.
Yeah. Although even in the heyday, when Greece was really, I'm sure in the summer of 2008, the lines of Macedonians going to Greece was still just as long as it is any year. Macedonians need their sun, their sand, and their sea. Whereas Bulgaria has some of that, it's a longer way to go. Yeah. It's not as nice. It's not as nice as the Aegean. So.
I remember I closed my account in the Greek-owned bank in 2008. There was some backlash. There was even like talk that we do a run on the bank. In some of the, I remember speaking to some journalists that there is like an initiative. People, was it somebody calling them or, like in a call-in show, and let's take all our money from the Greek-owned bank and crush it. So there was, I think, a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well, and I know, and then in a shooting war between the two NATO members, Greece and Turkey, I know you would be backing the Sultan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because we have so much land to gain there, like it's ours.
Right.
We just need somebody. I mean, we could march in with the Bulgarians. Hopefully, they have a lot of land to take in Greece. I was just there recently in the Bulgarian lands in Greece. So we should be uniting against a common enemy, not fighting amongst each other.
Well, the common enemy more and more is, and I don't want to start off on a new subject right now, but the common enemy more and more is Islam. So, but
that's a given.
We'll tackle that subject another time.
That's not going away.
Sorry?
That's not going away.
Yeah, no, it's only expanding, unfortunately. Okay, this is episode 202. I usually say that at the beginning. This is episode 202 of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. It is Friday, June 26th. We are deep into summer now, even though technically it only began on the 21st, but it's hot. It's hot in Europe, it's hot in America, the World Cup's going on. I had a great time. Last time we did this podcast, I was there with you in Macedonia. We had a great time. I have 2 sisters and 2 brother-in-laws. They're both younger than me, but the older of the 2 came with me on that trip to Macedonia. They just loved it. They thought it was fantastic. The food, the people, the drinks, the beefsteak tomatoes. My brother-in-law can't stop raving about the size of the tomatoes. And it was just great.
Instead of grapes, you should be exporting tomatoes to the U.S. Like the seeds and the to Arizona.
We do pretty well growing things here in Arizona. So no, really, really great trip. Not sure when my next one is, but I will be back soon, I am sure. So anyway, let's. I gotta get moving here. It's always this 9-hour time difference is always a bit of an issue to deal with, but we managed to make it. Let's reconvene in a couple of weeks or whatever, and see where we are with all this stuff. When does the World Cup end, actually?
I don't know. There's so many teams there. I think it's like extended for
middle of July.
Massively. I have no idea.
Okay.
I didn't know that they've added so many teams like Uzbekistan, Curacao.
It's 64, right?
I'm actually surprised. No, 40 something. I think.
No, I think it's 64. And why would I know this?
64 teams.
Let's see. How many teams?
I'm actually surprised we didn't make the cut this time because so many teams. But somebody was explaining it to me. I think they expanded it a lot for Asia and not so much for Europe. Although Europe got a lot.
48.
48, but it used to be like 30 something.
Maybe it says this says the first time in the tournament's 96-year history. Huh. So 12
somebody was explaining it. Yeah. They were just hoping that China and India will finally make the cut, and then they start selling sneakers and shirts in these 2 countries, and then they still failed. Like Uzbekistan qualified, and China and India couldn't do it.
Oh. Okay.
Eventually, they'll just have to give it to China and then tell them, "Fine, you're qualified by default."
Right. I've never sat down to try and understand this, but that's okay. Anyway, I rely on people like you to tell me. So.
Yeah, of course. Who haven't watched football? I didn't know where the channels I need to watch the football on are on my television. I had to have my neighbors explain it to me, after it started, on the second day.
Oh, funny. Okay, we'll reconvene and then we'll start with the World Cup and then go from there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. All right. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Take care, buddy. Bye.
You too.